If I hadn't started this channel with me and this tractor and a bottle of lube, I would never have been able to pay off my family's farm.
Welcome to Read It and Screech, the podcast.
I'm not saying that out loud. Okay, I will not say that out loud. I will never say that out loud. That is horrendous.
Just do it.
No,
Just do it.
I'm not saying that. I'm not brave enough. That's horrific. No, because you're going to say my name after it too. And that I can't breathe.
We could switch and I'll say it, but then you have to say your name.
No!
You don't get to call all the shots, Eva.
That is so horrifying.
Just say
I
it.
guess you're just going to have to read the book.
Just say it.
If you want to see that.
Let's flip a coin.
No!
I'll say it if you promise not to eat any more noodles for the rest of the podcast.
It's horrible! Horrible!
Wasn't that bad until you made a big deal about it, and now it's bad. Like the landlord's little diaper girl situation.
First off, you made that bad.
The podcast for everyone brave enough to ride the handle.
That is the most disgusting thing I've ever heard in my entire life. If you are brave enough for that, I never want to meet you. You can sit with us, but I don't want to talk to you, and I can't look you in the eye.
It doesn't specify what kind of handle.
It doesn't matter.
Come sit with us while I give you the Cliff's Notes and the cringiest quote.
That was the cringiest quote!
And we go screeching all the way. I'm Grace, and this is my co-host, Ava. This week, we present Lights Out by Nevessa Allen.
She gotta have some lights better.
I wanted to hate this book, but I couldn't.
I hate it. I hated it.
I couldn't.
We're not there yet. And I hate it.
It's 416 pages and 13 hours and 38 minutes by audio.
Oh my God.
Narrated by Elena Wolf and Jacob Morgan. What do you think the Goodreads rating is? Obviously, it's not none.
Which Goodreads rating did she pay for it to be?
Sometimes I count how many ratings it has to think like how many could they pay. Goodreads is 4.3. This is book 1 of the Into Darkness.
Of too many.
One of 19.
One of 500. Limited edition.
Book 1 of 2 of the Into Darkness series.
It's good to have goals.
It is dual first-person point of view set in the big city.
The big city.
The main characters are Josh, who has the most aesthetically pleasing cock you've ever seen.
Oh my God.
So big, you can't fit your hand around it.
I'm sorry.
That's upsetting.
Also, and I've had this conversation with more than one man, there is nothing aesthetically pleasing or internally pleasing about a wiener that big.
That's just because you haven't seen Josh's.
First off, that's a lie. You don't know. You don't know.
Sorry, asked and answered.
Right. That's a weird assumption to make.
So then we have Allie. She's not like other girls because she has a cat named Fred, and she keeps a gun in her car, one in her dresser, one in her nightstand, and a baseball bat under her bed, throwing stars and knives on her nightstand.
So we're exactly the same.
She also leaves curry in her work locker.
No, we're not the same.
For days on end, making the hospital where she works have to vacate the whole floor. She also calls lasagna a casserole.
I've met people who do that.
We open up. Allie is working this crazy shift. She works at an inner city hospital emergency room to blow off steam at the end of her hard work shifts.
She does blow.
No, that would be healthier than what she does. She spends over 200 hours watching thirst traps from
Tractor porn.
Mass Talk.
No!
She has one specific person that she likes to watch. She comments on every single video. She watches them over and over, and she has them saved into a playlist on her phone.
I don't like it. That's really weird.
So the guy who...
Is she obsessed with one of those little Call of Duty boys?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. No.
The guy who makes said TikToks is actually the roommate of this guy that she was casually hooking up with for a few months, who she forgot to call back, so he forgot about her. But because the mask guy is that guy's roommate, he's seen her a few times and has like a big crush on her already. He finds out because he's a tech whiz that she's the person who's been commenting on the videos.
It does not take a lot to figure that out. You do not have to be a tech whiz.
No, because her username is her name.
Right. Like, you just look at who's liking
his username is the Masked Stranger.
Also, there is a person on TikTok whose name is that.
Well,
that's not hard at all.
I didn't realize this was a nonfiction.
Right.
So while she's at work one day, Josh / the Masked Stranger, he breaks into her house. He makes a TikTok of himself jerking off
and writing TikToks into this now.
Yeah,
where we have now evolved to people writing TikToks into books. I don't like it.
He makes a TikTok of himself jerking off in her bed.
Splooge in the shoes,
and you can tell it's her bed.
No.
So she watches it. She's at work.
No!
Mhm.
No!
She's like, wow, that looks an awful lot like my house. And at first she can't tell that, like, for sure that it's her house because she thinks, oh, he just oddly has the same feminine bedspread that I do. No. Then he like moves the camera and you can tell that it's her house. While he's there, he leaves a camera in her room.
Does he leave an acorn?
God, thank fuck no. He leaves a camera in her room, but not because he's a sick fuck, but because he's trying to see if she's into the same freaky shit that
That's a
she says
lie.
she is in all his
It's
TikTok
'cause he-
comments.
That's a lie.
Oh, and Josh has a big secret, and it's that his dad is like a Ted Bundy level serial killer. So Allie goes home. Her cat is freaking the fuck out, and she doesn't think anything of it until she sees that Josh / the masked stranger left the mask that he had been wearing on her bed. So she wonders if he films all of his videos in different people's houses, but she's watched every single one of them and knows that this was the only time that he was in a different place because she's watched them for 200 hours. He watches her freak out and realizes that he was a crazy person for thinking she would be into this and decides to shut it all down. He decides to set up a bunch of security systems at her house as well with a stolen credit card to make up for it. He hopes she'll be grateful that he showed her that she needs extra security. While he watches her, she sends him a message on TikTok asking if he broke into her house, jerked off in her bed, and then left a mask there. He tells her yes and sends her the rest of the video of him doing sex to himself.
No!
She locks her cat in the bathroom and starts to touch herself.
No!
And he turns off the feed because he doesn't want to watch without her consent. She brutally thrusts her vibrator.
No!
This isn't a phase for her. It's her ride or die fantasy. After she's done, she realizes that she can't call the police because she masturbated all over the evidence. She decides to ask the hospital lawyers for advice on the matter. You could not waterboard that out of me. It only just now occurs to her that she should check the rest of the house to see if the intruder is still there, but he's not. So they go back and forth messaging with each other. She finds one of the cameras that he left there, but she doesn't realize that there's several of them. Later on, after a 40-hour shift in a blizzard, she goes to leave, and when she goes out to the parking deck, he is waiting in her car with no coat on, despite the blizzard, with a bag lunch because he was watching her on the security cameras in the hospital. Which brings me to my next point, class. There's not security cameras in hospitals like that because it breaks patient confidentiality. And it comes up multiple times that he watches her and gets details on her patients because he hacks into their system. And that's exactly the reason they don't have cameras in hospitals. But whatever. He messages her on TikTok to tell her to get in the car because he doesn't want her to recognize his voice. And she gets in the car because he left a gun loaded with blanks in the passenger seat and her cat likes him. She's figured out that she must know him from somewhere in real life and tells him that he might as well take the mask off, but he tells her no, that would ruin the fantasy. They brush hands across the fingerless gloves that he's wearing to hide the tattoos on his hands.
Twilight.
And she makes him eat the trail mix that he brought to prove it's not poison. And the girl from that Hitchhiker book could take notes from this. The fingerless gloves came about because she had called the roommate to say, hey, can you see if your friend will help me hunt down this guy who cyber stalked me and broke into my house, basically. And the roommate is like, yeah, sure, I'll ask Josh if he'll help you find Josh. And Josh says, oh no, she's going to notice my tattoos from the TikToks. So he invests in a pair of fingerless gloves to wear when she comes over to like at
She's
a later
like,
date.
everyone that I know wears fingerless gloves. It's so weird.
Right. At a later
This is
date.
in fashion right now.
So why was he wearing them as the masked man? He's like wearing his normal people disguise on accident. Whatever.
I was gonna say, everyone around her suddenly wearing fingerless gloves. Like, oh, they're so in vogue.
She tells him that it will take more than trail mix to make her forgive him for breaking into her house. And he decides to take their bickering as foreplay. And he thinks that he's not as bad as her because he was able to see that she watched the TikToks for more than 200 hours. And he's only watched her for like 40 hours. On the way home in the blizzard, some yeet truck motherfuckers catcall her. And he gets out and waves a knife at them to chase them off. This makes no goddamn sense. In a blizzard? Okay. Sure, Jan. She asks him to take his shirt off while he's driving.
In a blizzard?
Yes. And threatens him with the knife that he had left in the driver's seat with the gun. This doesn't scare him because he hacked into her therapist's computer as well and read all of the therapy notes, and she doesn't seem like a violent person.
Saying you're not a violent person, anyone can become violent at any time.
Yeah.
That's a stupid fucking thing to be like, oh, well, you're not a violent in the past.
Right, yeah.
Watch me, weird ass.
So she tells him to whip his dick out, and she grabs it while holding the knife to him, and then gives him roadhead while he drives. Again, in a blizzard.
With a knife with someone you haven't met before.
Yeah. And he tries not to come like a fire hydrant. All the while, he makes a mental note to mark this down as an anniversary of sorts for them. Ultimately, she does finish and accidentally stabs him because she was still holding the knife. She's embarrassed as fuck for stabbing him while...
Me too.
giving a
Your behavior is abysmal.
while giving a Blizzard blowjob, and she takes him.
Blizzard blowjob.
So she takes him inside and gives him stitches. Nurses aren't supposed to do stitches, so she's risking a lot to help him.
Really? Because a regular person can do stitches.
No.
Technically, like, what's stopping you? We'll do it with dental floss.
I don't know. I don't even know how she had the stuff to do the stitches.
Dental floss. Like, be so fucking for real.
She
You know, whenever someone says you're not supposed to be doing that, you're not supposed to get caught.
Right?
What? The privacy of your own home, you technically can do anything.
I know.
But you do that. Okay, and
I know.
who's gonna press me, boo? Who's gonna tell on me?
So she did a really bad job at the stitches, so he's gonna have a giant scar, but he's gonna wear it with pride. He's still using
He's gonna walk around in a Speedo forever and show it to people.
It's on his hand.
Oh, so you made it sound like it was on his wiener.
So I guess he could walk around in a Speedo.
You made it sound like it was on his wiener.
He's still using TikTok to message her during the whole process because he's waiting for his voice modulator from Amazon to arrive.
While he's sitting there?
Yeah. This results in a pregnant silence between the two of them.
Don't use that word.
Well, that's why I said it. Because I hate it.
Disgusting.
She tries to get him to bone her, but he types out no.
No.
Yeah. He says she needs to sleep after her 40-hour shift.
I thought you were going to say her 40-hour blowjob.
No. She decides that she should find out his identity on the low to even the playing field, and she's right. She also decides that she should take some PTO for once in her life, and I guess the subplot is learning to take time for yourself. And I love it when books teach a life lesson.
The life lesson wasn't don't read things that say stuff about handles. Handles, saddles, shit like that.
Yeah.
Call yourself weird inanimate objects, sitting on things, weird shit.
So she wakes up from sleeping for an entire day, and someone, quote unquote, has ordered her takeout and left it in the fridge and also shoveled her driveway. She realizes that he's hacked the cameras that he sent her through that security package he sent.
She realizes.
Her neighbors tell her that she's lucky that her handsome boyfriend did all this stuff for her. So they got to see his identity, but she hasn't. So he's like really not trying that hard to like not let her find out who he is.
And we're in the era of TikTok, the year of our Lord. Her neighbors don't have a Ring camera.
The next day, Josh prepares to help her with finding out his own identity by staging the apartment. He does this by closing off his bedroom, opening all the windows to make it cold so that he has a good excuse to wear those fuck-ass gloves, and covering the thermostat with a family photo so that she can't see that he set it to 55. The roommate who Allie had been hooking up with tells him he's unbothered with Josh taking a turn with her because he hasn't gotten laid in ages anyway.
Gross.
Yeah. He almost gives himself away by making her coffee the way she likes it, but covers for himself, saying that he remembers how she takes it from the one time he ever met her when she was casually hooking up with his roommate. He tells her it's illegal to dox him / the masked stranger, but agrees to pretend to help her. So he plays a video on his laptop of fake hacking software and tells her it's so hard to track people down, and then runs back and forth from the bedroom to message her from TikTok as the mask guy.
This is so bad. This is like a Wattpad story.
Yes. She asks him if he would rather ejaculate one single sperm every...
Oh, no, you did not. Would you rather?
Yes. Every time he comes, or ejaculate...
one giant sperm.
or 100 sperms that could all talk back to you every time you come. I thought that was a good question.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard, actually.
Really? Stop right the handle.
I don't like this person. I've decided. Who wrote this dribble?
When she leaves, he calls his mom and tells her about his new girlfriend, and then proceeds to watch her at work. He plans to go to her house again, but accidentally naps through it this time. Allie, conversely, immediately knew that Josh was the masked man because he's not fucking slick at all with his weird fingerless gloves and running back and forth from his bedroom. She buys a tracker and decides she'll plant it on him next time he invades her privacy. She gets home from work and gets pissy that he isn't hiding naked in her bed. So she plugs the camera that he had left in her room back in and proceeds to touch herself until Josh breaks her door down and titty fucks her and makes eggs for her that have a bunch of shells in them.
No! I don't like these people.
She puts the tracker in his bag, but he sees her do it due to his incessant and constant surveillance of her. And this is why you have to keep a good eye on women, because they're always up to new good.
Because they fucking suck.
He says he's going to make her come even harder next time. And he's had his mask on for hours at this point, so he's getting all sweaty and itchy from it. And he whips it off as soon as he steps foot outside her house. And she doesn't peek out the window.
No Ring camera again.
But it doesn't matter because she knows who he is already. He doesn't know that she knows.
Shut up. You know me good at this.
He drives to spell out LOL on the street because she's like watching the tracker. That's stupid. And she tells him that she's going to have his blood and hair DNA tested to see who he is.
It's a lot of money.
You can't do that. You know how hard that is. So she tries to make her friend at the hospital do the testing. Hospitals don't do that. Hospitals don't casually run DNA tests at all. But the friend says she doesn't get to skip the line of assault victims to test the DNA of her weird boyfriend. But then she does tell her she'll run the test during lunch break so it won't count as skipping the line.
So skip the line.
Right.
Without skipping the line.
Josh apologizes for throwing out her tracker and tells her he would never hurt her and says he'll leave her alone for a few days. And he does do that. She's gotten 10,000 new TikTok followers from people putting 2 and 2 together that she's his girlfriend. At work, one of her patients turns out to be this guy that attacked a lady and got away with it. And it's because he left with a lawyer before they could get DNA evidence from him. I wonder why there was a delay in getting that DNA evidence. He is in the hospital this time because the brother of the lady he attacked found him and beat the shit out of him. He tries to grab Allie while she's taking care of him and then throws a fit when she tells him not to fuck with her. She gets in trouble for shit talking a patient and has a horrible rest of the day and goes home. Josh watches the whole shift and asks her to drive her home, and she says no, so he breaks into her house when she gets there. He forgot to wear the mask with the voice modulator this time, so he has to talk like Batman.
You know when you said that thing about that one book where you were like, this is horrible because people have access to it and someone's gonna act like this?
Yeah.
That's gonna happen.
Yeah. She tells him that her mom died in a car wreck when she was little and that's why she had a bad shift, not the violent lady attacker apparently. And he wishes that he would crawl up inside her to make her feel better.
Oh, that's disgusting.
He tells her that he looked up the guy who was weird to her and found out that his family has been cleaning up his messes since childhood by paying off his victims. They fuck to get her mind off of it. 35 minutes worth. Oh, I started tracking how many minutes worth of sex were in an audiobook. Just this one, because it was so much. 35 minutes worth.
Like she talked to her, the sex scene was 35 minutes?
Yeah.
Like speaking?
Yes.
Ew.
Yes, someone described sex for 35 minutes.
No.
Multiple times.
No. Nope.
So they described sex for 35 minutes.
I got to go.
And they do knife play.
I got to
which is where the handle writing likely.
No! Oh my God!
Where that sentiment.
That bothers me actually a great deal because.
Oh, really? You don't have to explain further. I understand.
No.
I have to go. Anyway, he cleans the knife off with an antiseptic wipe first.
I have somewhere to be. It's called hell anywhere but here.
So
under a car on the highway.
He's still talking like Batman the whole time. And he falls asleep in his mat. They are woken up by someone triggering her security alarm.
Triggered.
And he goes to investigate, but not before they do a melodramatic kiss. The intruder is wearing an identical mask to his. She comes up behind him with one of her bazillion guns.
With one of her own masks.
She comes up behind him with one of her bazillion guns, and they do a Scooby-Doo style unveiling of the intruder. And it's the guy from the hospital from the other day. He has a backpack with him and a full murder kit. Allie says, "Oh, let's just beat him to death." But Josh says no.
Can I beat you to death?
He says, let's be civil about it. So they tie him up and chloroform him and
roofies,
and then shove him into her snowboard bag.
He's in a snowboard bag. Come on.
The plan is to drive him out to the country and kill him, but they accidentally already did by duct taping his mouth and nose shut while he was in the trunk. And he would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for these meddling kids. They leave, but not before Josh has to take his mask off finally to vomit in the woods, proving she was right about who he was. She is unfazed by the whole thing because she sees people die all the time, but Josh is freaked the fuck out. Allie is just mad that this guy died on accident and that they didn't get to do it more dramatically.
Thanks, I hate it.
He almost tells her about his dad and family, but decides against it. But he does call her his girlfriend because the couple that slays together stays together.
Even if it's an accident?
That was another tagline. I could have had you say, welcome to Read It and Screech, the podcast where the couple that slays together stays together. But I think you ride the handle.
You wanted me to say something horrific instead.
I wouldn't make either of those things up. She tells him that, surprise, her family is in the mob. So they can ask her uncle to help with the body that they have in their trunk now. Josh is over the moon to have his first girlfriend, but also freaked out to meet real mobsters. So he puts on a fake mustache.
He puts on a new mask.
to disguise himself for meeting with her uncle. She tells him he looks ridiculous, but he says, "You'd like to ride this mustache, so shut up."
A fake mustache that wouldn't come off.
The whole family wakes up screaming, crying, throwing up because she brought a fucking body to the house, and the feds are always watching him. But they get to work cleaning up the whole mess while Josh fills them in on what happened. She gets her shit and drives to Josh's apartment, which is awkward as fuck because she used to fuck that roommate, remember? Her friend from the hospital calls to tell her that the DNA that she tested wasn't Josh's, but it did match his dad, so now she knows that he's the son of the serial killer. She asks the roommate about it, and he tells her that when Josh was a kid, this quack psychologist tried to convince him that being a serial killer was genetic and put him on a bunch of psych meds that he didn't really need, and that he's actually just harmless and not at all like his dad. She decides to believe him because he has pretty eyes. And then when Josh gets back, he tells her that when they tried to go to the dead guy's house, the police were already there trying to serve a warrant for one of the previous attacks. They go have unmasked shower sex, and he has the best orgasm of his goddamn life.
I'm sorry. If your dad was a serial killer and you knew, why would you be like, I should be TikTok famous?
Because he's wearing a mask.
I read a thing the other day that said that social media, Facebook especially, but I think all of them, are inviting spies into your life. Like friend requests aren't friends. That's not a friend, it's a spy.
They can spy. I don't have anything to share.
Not everything is about you, Captain Underpants.
You just said, I read this thing, it said the thing, and I'm like, yeah,
what was I talking about? I was talking about that if your dad's a serial killer and you probably don't want to get caught.
No, the dad's been caught.
You didn't say that.
How would they
You
have
make it sound like
DNA?
you're motoring.
Oh, he's dead. How would they have his DNA in the database if he had been caught?
You did not say that at any point.
I thought it would have been more of a point of contention if he was still out there.
No.
Whatever. They go back to her house a few days later after the mob family has cleaned it out completely. But Josh has to wait in the car for a minute for his boner to go down before they can go inside. Her cousin is waiting for them inside and makes a comment about Josh's porn stash being gone. He tells them that
People
they
shave.
Right. Or just rip off their fake mustaches. He tells them that they took apart the dead guy's car and that they are going to need to wipe his computer to make sure he didn't leave any evidence of tracking her down to indicate that he was in her house when he died. So they dress up like cable company workers to break into his house and get the computer. When they get there, the house smells like dead bodies, and it turns out that he had a bunch of bodies in the basement.
Ew.
Yeah. While Josh is trying to finish wiping the computer, the guy's parents stop by to check on their missing son. So he has to parkour himself out of the window, and he sets off the security alarm as he goes so that the police will be able to get in without a warrant, and then they'll smell the bodies in the basement. And it works. They run through the forest to meet up with their mob cousins while hiding from the helicopters searching for the dead guy. And when they finally get picked up, they tell them that the cops assume that he fled the country when they were getting the search warrant. And this happens while Allie dreams of nipple clamps.
Jail.
When they get home, they take a shower while telling each other more about their childhood traumas, and Allie won't fuck him because he has broken ribs. Later on, though, he ties her up while she's asleep, and they have more mask sex the next morning, which includes an anal plug. 30 minutes. They go to dinner at her mob family's house. The family tells them that the dead guy was apparently a huge mega serial killer, and they're going to plant stuff in Canada to make it look like he ran there and isn't dead. Her uncle tells Josh that he doesn't trust them, and Josh says that if he does anything to break he and Allie up, he'll fuck up their whole mob setup with the power of technology. So they hug it out. Several months later, they do kink play by chasing each other through the woods. Loser gets penetrated in a cute way. Thankfully, she loses. She does 39 minutes worth of losing.
Maybe she loses because you didn't want to read about
I didn't want to read about him getting penetrated.
That's funny. I'll allow it. I don't mind.
She loves him, and she loves that his cock is too big. He asks her to marry him right there in the woods, and then tells her that he wants 8 kids. And
No,
she decides to.
I will not allow that. I do mind. That was too far for me.
She decides to have his giant babies.
No.
The end.
I'm sorry. This person said mob, mask, knife, run, serial killer, TikTok. What else did I miss?
Being penetrated in a cute way. Where are they now?
No.
You can't just say no
I can't.
to every part of the podcast that is like your part. You're like, I'm not going to do any of it. You have to do Where Are They Now or the quick fiction fix. And you can't just be like, oh, just go to hell and be better. It has to be real stuff.
I don't like doing Where Are They Now. It's the worst thing ever. I hate it.
I love it because you're always like, they just work at Walgreens.
There's no other.
Hell or Walgreens? Which is it?
Those are the same thing. First off, duh.
I feel like they're happily married.
I
with
don't.
8 giant babies.
I don't allow all of those things until they were like, and then they just settled down and had kids. You think they did? Fucking liar.
We just casually murdered someone and then went about our lives.
All we do is have disgusting sex. Eat me.
Okay, what's the quick fiction fix?
Like, no, be so fucking for
I
real.
thought the mob family
That-
was a pretty decent monkey
That,
friend.
that gives me, like, floors me with rage. They're like, they spend their whole entire time being like, as venomous as possible and being like, they're feral for each other. They run around doing all of these abominable things. And then they're like, but they have all the same wants as everyone else. Fucking have babies. No, they don't. You spent the whole book telling us they don't have the same wants and needs as everyone else. They're not like everyone else. They're different than everyone else. Look at all of the wants and needs that they have. They're feral people. They want babies like everyone. Liar.
Okay.
Like, be original. Come up with something else.
Okay, we'll fix it then. I didn't hate it. I've read so much worse this year. I was embarrassed about that though.
You should be.
Okay, because he
Oh my God.
because he felt bad about the intrusion of privacy. That's more than we can say for a lot of other
What's the age
people.
range of these people?
She's been a nurse for a long time, so they're like
45? Long time?
No,
What's
they're
long time?
like 30.
Okay. So if they just want to be like dirty and fuck, then, okay, fine.
Go God.
Like, then why don't they just like move to
He
Boston?
cleaned off the handle with a wet wipe. They're not dirty.
Move to Boston, open a tattoo parlor, be tattooers and piercists on the weekends.
Piercist.
Piercers?
Piercist makes it sound like a religion.
And like go to raves in your spare time and then like become swingers when you get old. Like no one said that you had to be like become normal. Like I feel like I got lost.
Maybe they take some time for themselves every month to
No.
go chase each other through the woods and fuck.
No, see, that's stupid.
I didn't write it. I don't know why you're
I
like.
don't know why you're arguing with me. You asked.
No, I
You
asked
asked
you.
me to fix it. I fixed it, and now you're telling me no, it has to go back to the way that it was.
You fixed it by instead of her being a nurse, she's a tattoo artist.
No, I said she can stay being a nurse. He can make his weird ass videos.
But they don't have kids.
I think that ruins it. Being like, oh well, no, actually, we're just like everyone else.
Okay.
No, you're not.
So the whole book was fine, and the only thing that
No,
needed
I don't think
fixed
the
was
book.
the
I don't
happily
think the
ever
book.
after.
I don't think the book was fine. I just think if you want to maintain the continuity of where you were going, why does everyone's happily ever after be like, and then revert to a picket fence lifestyle with as many children as possible? That's fucking weird.
Yeah, that is weird. Okay, well, that's one fix. You have 2 more fixes. Oh, you know what? You're right. It was a perfect book. It's perfect
It
literature.
was not.
Until the end when they decided to have a nice life.
No, I told you they ruined the continuity of
So
it.
the handle.
I'm giving them that because some people are into that. No.
Impressive. We're going to need to write this down that we found a book there. The only problem with it was
That's
that,
not the only problem with it. It's just,
well, you had the opportunity to fix it, and that's the only thing you would fix.
there's so much. First off,
I thought the Scooby-Doo unveiling was kind of weird.
oh, I forgot.
It's kind of weird that they dressed up like cable people and broke into that guy's house.
Oh, I was gonna say halfway through, can you imagine being a side character in someone like This Is Life who's that selfish?
Your cousin is fucking
Yeah,
in the woods and you're hiding to clean
yeah.
up the guy she
I was gonna say,
accidentally killed.
Can you imagine being the cousin? I had to dismantle a car because you're just like, oh, I'm gonna go fuck my
Yeah, then when you tell her, like, hey, you need to stop accidentally murdering people in your trunk, her boyfriend is like, don't talk to her like that.
I was born in the dark.
Because he's Batman.
Bitch.
I would have gone so dry if some guy I was talking to talked like Batman for all day. No, the fingerless gloves, that would have been a fix. Those didn't add much to the plot. And they were used, they didn't have a lot of continuity with how they were used.
And then being like, you get a serial killer, you get a...
So you would have
Like-
fixed the mafia and mob. You would have fixed the happily ever after. I would have fixed the fingerless gloves. So that's 3.
I would have fixed the usage of TikTok. I feel like it's going to age poorly.
It should have just been like generic video app.
Social media, the internet, chat, IM.
Yeah. That's
Text.
going to be like getting
It's-
on AIM.
Yeah. It's going to be the equivalent of saying I got on Vine and messaged. That's not going to age well.
Oh, wow. Because this was going to be, canon literature. Too bad you didn't get to be added up there with A Christmas Carol.
I told Thor we read that on here because he's like, don't you only read like pornos? I was like, no, we read A Christmas Carol.
There was whips and chains in that one. Thank you for listening to Read It and Screech. I know you don't want to support.
I'm sorry you listened to Read It and Screech.
You can always rate, review, and subscribe. You can find us on TikTok with more tidbits and minisodes at Read It and Screech. Okay, sorry. Sorry.